Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Andrew Benning. I'm the VP of Recruitment Services at Springer Publishing Company. For those of you who don't know Springer, we are an award-winning publisher of nursing and healthcare content featuring books, apps, journals, and digital products. Today, we are very happy to present Level Up Your Career, How to Think, Speak, and Act with Confidence with Farah Laurent. Farah is a passionate, bold, and energetic nurse career coach that helps nurses slay all day. She is shaking up the nursing world by disrupting old nursing narratives. Farah is an expert in her field and specializes in turning no's into yes. She's the proud founder and CEO of Farah Laurent International Nurse Coach, LLC, and offers top-notch career guidance to ensure nurses level up and land their dream specialty position. She's a certified queen with 6 board certifications and holds master's in nursing education. With her 19 years of rich nursing experience, Farah has held various positions in the emergency department, education, and leadership at the director level in both Canada and the US. Farah has coached over 50 nurses to land their dream positions and live their best life. Before we get started, just want to quickly mention that this webinar will be recorded. If you miss any portion of the presentation, you can find the video on Springer Publishing's website 5 to 7 days post-event. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat or on our Zoom control panel, and I'll bring them up at the end of the presentation as well. If you forget to ask a question, there's also a brief survey at the end of the webinar, so you can include any questions there. So without further ado, we want to welcome Farah, and I'll turn it right over to you. Thank you, Farah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to Springer Publishing. Thank you for the opportunity. And I want to say thank you to everybody out there who has taken the time to join us. This is really exciting, and I can't wait to share this presentation with all of you. And at the end, we're going to have an opportunity to do a question and answer. So let's get into it. So how to think, speak, and act with confidence. All right. I'm so excited. So, I'm not going to read this, but basically, you can have access to this later. But, as they described, I've been a nurse for quite some time, and I've always had a passion for nursing and always had a passion for helping other nurses, whether I was a preceptor, a mentor, and really empowering nurses to do what they love. And I think confidence is so important in your personal and also professional life, because I truly think that it advances your career and it can give you a lot of opportunities for growth. So let's get on to the next thing. So the objectives for today, we're going to define what confidence is, learn how to identify and eliminate self-limiting beliefs, and then identify opportunities in confidence, areas of opportunities. And then the last, you'll be able to at least list 5 strategies on how to build your confidence. So basically, right, I put up this slide. We're going to go through the true tea on confidence, right? And I put up Beyonce because I think, she's really well known worldwide and she really comes off with confidence, right? But do you really think, as her song says, that she woke up like this, right? Probably not, because it's something that you have to work on, right? So let's get into the next slide. So who wants to increase their confidence? All right, I know I do, right? And it's something that I particularly struggled with at a younger age. When I got into nursing, I still felt like I struggled with it a little bit. And then I started to kind of build my confidence as I built my skills, because I felt like a lot of times as a new nurse, you don't feel confident going into practice. But when you start having a lot more experience and more skills and becoming more competent, you get a little bit confident. But today we'll talk about really confidence in both ends, right? Professional and personal confidence. So what is confidence? Well, here's the Oxford Dictionary definition: a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own ability or qualities. So this is really important because, I think this is where the self-limiting beliefs can come in. A lot of times we kind of are hard on ourselves and, view ourselves not in the most positive light. So sometimes that can really hurt our confidence, or we sometimes want to look at what other people are doing and compare ourselves to others. That can also hurt our confidence, and also what people tell us, right? Um, if you think about young children, they really don't care, right, about what other people think. So they'll say whatever they want, and they pretty much, I think most children appear confident, right? But I think over time, as we grow, we kind of lose that because we get into our heads a lot and worry about what other people think. So really, what's your perspective, right? What's your perspective on confidence? Because my definition of confidence could be a little different than what you might find to be confidence. And this is something that we're going to get into in a little bit, because really sometimes it's perception. So we'll look a little bit further into it. So Sade, I don't know if you guys know who Sade is, but she's one of my favorite artists. I actually got to see her in concert twice, once in Chicago, and I got to see her in Toronto in Canada. So to me, she seems a little bit more of an introvert, but I feel that even though you are an introvert, you could still display confidence. And I feel like she has that quiet confidence. And I have a couple of different examples. Obviously, this is the little polar opposite, right? Everybody knows Jordan, and he's got his tongue out and everything. But you could say he was a little bit more, I guess you could say, showy, right? A little bit more, bragging in his confidence. And then we have Lady Gaga, who's always setting trends, and I feel like doesn't really care about what people think, and she kind of does her thing because she's super comfortable in her skin. So these are a couple examples. And Muhammad Ali, I feel like, embodies confidence because the way that he spoke, the way that he used to think, and that the way he acted, everything was in alignment. When I think Muhammad Ali, I think confidence, right? Like his whole thing was, I am the greatest. And he said, I used to say, I am the greatest before I even knew that I was the greatest, right? So it's all about mindset. And that is truly, I think, the foundation of confidence, is really having that mindset and that positivity about yourself, your self-image, and your abilities, right? So today's topics, we're going to talk about how to think, speak, and act with confidence. So let's get into it. So who here is a bad nurse? Right? Probably nobody, right? So nobody wakes up and thinks, I'm going to be, I'm not going to be a good nurse today or whatever, right? We have positive intentions. We want to be good nurses, and we are. And I think it's, again, that mindset. So we always have to have positive thinking to be able to really come with that confidence, right? So this is another favorite quote of mine. Mr. Garvey says, with confidence, you have won before you even started. I mean, that is so powerful. And I use the example of taking an exam. A lot of new graduate nurses, there could be some new grads here listening, but taking the NCLEX, for example, or taking any exam, you have to have the right mindset to be able to go into that exam. If you already think that you're not going to do well on that exam, then chances are that you probably won't, right? So this obviously, quote, embodies that with confidence, you have already won before you started. So extremely important. So again, we're going to talk about the think, which is eliminating self-limiting beliefs, mindset, and reframing your thoughts. So what are limiting beliefs, right? These are things that we create internally in ourselves. And it's almost like just basically sabotaging or negative self-thoughts, right? Oh, I can't do that. I don't know if I can get that job. I'm not good enough. Am I enough? Do you think, they'll hire me? It's always like constantly seeking validation and not being comfortable in your own abilities and constantly doubting yourself. So these are self-limiting beliefs. And when you get into that, almost like that funnel of thinking that way, it's hard to get out. So the way that you counterbalance that is reframing your thoughts to be positive. So if you see that you're going into a negative type area, you have to just stop yourself and reframe your thinking and go more to a positive aspect of thinking and mindset. So again, I put here game over, right? Before you play the game, if you're already thinking you're going to lose, it's going to be game over. And this is true both personally in life, in your personal life, and also in your professional life for career advancement or whatever that you're trying to establish. And I truly think, and I'm going to probably say this multiple times, that confidence really equals success, right? Think about it. Perhaps in your career, there's been people that have been promoted multiple times or may have not had particular qualifications or certifications for a position, but they're the ones that constantly get promoted or get the job, right? And it has to do with confidence, right? Because if you don't present yourself with confidence, it's going to be hard for people to believe in you. So this is what I was talking about. Fear of failure. What happens is you start spiraling into the sea of what I call what ifs. You know, what if I don't succeed? What if I don't get the job? What if this? And what it does is it paralyzes you, and that you don't really go get what you want, and your confidence starts kind of slowly dying. But you have to get away from that, because a lot of people don't take action because of this fear of failure. And they sometimes also fear what other people will say, and do. And part of the self-limiting beliefs is also surrounding yourself with positive people who will encourage you to move forward, who will give you that confidence, right? It sounds silly, but you have to obviously stay away from negativity and people who are constantly bringing you down. So you need that encouragement, right? And then I have this little guy here. So what if you fail, right? What if you fail? So what? Right? Like we always talk about education and nursing, but in life, some of our biggest lessons are due to failure. And really, it's all about perspective. Back to that perspective that I shared. What is failure, right? You got to think about it. Thank you. Somebody says so true. Being around positive people is important. And I teach my daughter that often in life. Yes. Failure, and I don't know if you saw this recently. I can't remember his name, and it's a really long name, but the basketball player, Otutukampo, I can never say his name, but he was asked in a post-conference interview in basketball, like, did he find the season to be a failure? And he had a hard time answering, but he basically answered and said, well, it's not a failure, right? He's like, it's a progression. Whatever happens, you have to take that and turn it into a lesson. What did you learn from that? How can you improve for that? And we're going to get into it in a little bit, but that's that growth mindset. All right. And I hope that you guys can still see the screen. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. I don't know what you're seeing on your end, but I love this photo, right? And I talk about Empire State of Mind. So I'm actually Canadian. I grew up in Canada, and I worked in Canada for about 5 years in the emergency department. And I'll tell you that story in a little bit of how I got into emergency medicine. But I wanted to leave the small city that I was from in Canada and go to a big city. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go to New York City, right? Because it's the biggest city, and I feel like there's a lot of progression there. And people think big, right? Empire State of Mind. I think about the song with Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. And it just, that song just exudes confidence for me. So I think it's a state of mind, right? Confidence. And back to the growth mindset. And let me know if this is resonating with you guys, if you guys are enjoying this, put it in the chat. I don't know if you've heard of a growth mindset, but what it is there's a psychologist that works on, I think her name is Dr. Dweck, and she talks a lot about growth mindset and talks about grit and things like that. But you have to have a growth mindset. So the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset is people with a growth mindset have a very different perspective. They look at failure differently. They look at opportunities and things that go wrong of what they can learn from. And they're constantly seeking knowledge, constantly seeking feedback from others and seeing how they can grow. And honestly, success, and there's been research with this too, is people that are really successful in life are the ones that are constantly growing and constantly seeing how they can become better, right? And this is same is true in healthcare, right? We're constantly evolving, constantly improving. There's new innovations, new technologies. So the same is true for you as a nurse, right? You have to continue your growth. And this is what also I think will help with your confidence, having that growth mindset. So I hope that you guys could see this okay. But I mentioned about how I went into emergency medicine. So everyone has a story. And it's important to tell your story as a nurse or just as an individual. So whether you're going for an interview, because I'm a career coach and I do a lot of interview prep with my clients and things like that, storytelling is so powerful and people remember stories. And it creates almost like a connection with others, right? So they can know you a little bit better. So I think it's important to tell your story. And also you are the author, right? You're the author of your life. You're the architect of your life. We always talk about making things happen, right? So I'll tell you my quick origin story about how I got into nursing and emergency medicine particularly. So as a nursing student, I was always fascinated by emergency medicine. I used to watch Trauma Life in the ER on TV. I don't know if you guys watched that ever. I don't know if there's any ER nurses here in the house or past former ER nurses. But I absolutely loved ER. So my clinical instructor in my last year said, "Fair, what type of nurse do you want to be?" And I said, "Well, I want to be an emergency nurse." And she looked at me and almost kind of laughed in my face and said, "Fair, you'll never be an emergency nurse. You are too unorganized." And in my head, I was like, oh my goodness, like how can she crush my dreams, right? And of course, what would that do to a student's confidence, right? Of course, you would think that it would really diminish your confidence. But for me, it did the opposite. I felt like, I was like, okay, watch me, lady. I'm going to be one of the best ER nurses around, and I will get a job in the ER. And that's the mindset that I had. And of course, I got my last rotation in the ER. I killed it. I was making connections, doing the best that I could as a student, and they offered me a position before I even graduated. I then got 3 certifications in emergency medicine. I worked as an ER nurse in Canada and a trauma center, did travel nursing in New York and various other places like Michigan as an ER nurse, got my master's in education, and then basically became a TNCC instructor as well, which is a trauma instructor. It's like the equivalent of ACLS, but for trauma. And I felt like she fueled me. She fueled me to prove her wrong and to be successful. And I think if you can do that, sometimes just take that negativity or whatever people are telling you that you can't do and use it as motivation, and don't let that bruise your confidence. All right, we got some ER nurses in here in critical care. Jane, okay, awesome. So, that's the story that I share. Sorry, I went back. Because you don't want to let anybody bruise your confidence because it'll hinder you, right? So if you're set and you want to do something, go for it, because you know, it's true. Sometimes your own family or friends will try to deter you. So definitely stick to what it is that you want and be confident and have that conviction and that grit to finish what it is that you want to do. All right. So, all right, we have Nisha and a couple others. Awesome. So let's talk about KSA. So in education, we talk about knowledge, skills, and attitude. So earlier, there was the definition of confidence, right? So obviously, as a nurse or even as an individual, the more knowledge you have, the more competence that you'll feel, the more skills you have, whether it's communication skills, any type of nursing skills, whether it's psychomotor skills, you're going to be more confident, right? And your attitude as well, right? So this little girl here, I love that photo because, again, back to children, I feel like they're fearless and they have confidence. So, this is kind of the framework, continue to learn, build up your skills, not just in nursing, but communication skills. Anything that can make you better and improve, you'll start to feel more confident in your daily life, okay? And I'm going to go through this. Again, I think this helps with thinking and mindset, is having positive affirmations. So a couple here. I am confident and value myself. I am growing and learning every day. I believe in myself and in my skills. I can do anything I set my mind to, and I am confident in my ability. So if you can say those every day, and there's a lot of other affirmations out there, go for it, right? Because this will help with your confidence and really building a strong foundation and mindset. And I didn't really touch upon it before, but truly, and you guys tell me if you agree, being confident, again, is back to knowing yourself and being confident in your own skin. So if you know yourself and you're comfortable with yourself, you're going to be more confident. Knowing yourself, what does that really mean, right? So having purpose, I think, is extremely important. Having a vision, having a mission, and values are so important. If you are set in your values and you're in alignment with your values, I think you'll be extremely confident because you know yourself, right? Okay, good. So there's some comments there. Sorry. I hope I'm not messing up your view. So let's get into the speaking part, right? How do you speak with confidence, right? So we're going to go through the instrument, the 5 Ps, the 3 Cs, how to articulate your value, and how to advocate. So do you agree your voice is a powerful instrument, right? So whether, we all know in nursing it's important to advocate. Many times we advocate for our patients or other people, but we have difficulty advocating for ourselves. So just remember that your voice is powerful and use it for advocacy, right? The 5 Ps. So the 5 Ps I have here are prepare, practice, presence, pace, and position. All right? So prepare. Whether you're speaking on stages, so I used to actually run corporate orientations for NYC Health and Hospitals. It was like 11 acute hospitals. And sometimes I was in front of 100 or more nurses, right? And speaking to them. Of course, I felt a bit nervous. And I think with time, when you practice, you get better and more confident. But preparing is so important because you have to be the subject matter expert. Whether you're going for an interview, whether you're preparing for a presentation in leadership or in education, you have to be prepared, okay? So the pitch is important in an interview, really pitching and promoting yourself and knowing the content. And we talked about practice, obviously, practicing it. But you don't want to sound rehearsed or scripted, but, you have to just know your points. And you can practice in front of other people. So maybe if you have a upcoming presentation or an interview, you can practice with your friends. And this is something that I do with my clients is we practice and we do mock interviews. So you want to mimic that. And as we know in simulation, it's very important because you practice in a safe environment so that when it's time to pitch, you're ready to go. Presence. This is so important. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody maybe that you think is super confident, but the way they even enter a room, right? You're like, wow, like who is that person, right? Because they're just oozing with confidence. It's like the way they walk, the way they're dressed, and that's all of personal branding. Because really, as a nurse, you have to think about yourself as a brand and as a business. So presence is so important. I used to laugh because I used to think like sometimes when I worked in the ER, like back-to-back shifts, I would come in and sometimes my uniform was a little bit wrinkled and I used to joke around and say, hey, it's not how I look. It's like the care that I give. But of course, like looking back, right? Like if somebody looks put together, their look is good, they're standing straight, they walk in with confidence, you're like, hey, this person is a professional or whatever, and you take them more seriously, right? So that is really important in personal branding. And pace, right? Sometimes I tend to talk really fast because I get excited. But sometimes you really have to take your time, pace how you're speaking, and really project. And it's important to be, not monotone and things like that. So some of the greatest speakers that I think, I admire are like Obama, right? He's a great speaker, and you could tell that he would pause, right, when he would give his speeches. And pausing is so important. And it even when you're in an interview, if you pause, it really shows confidence and you're taking your time, right? So don't be afraid of silence or pausing when you're speaking. And it really gives an impact if you're a speaker and you use pause or silence, okay? Especially to like really hit or impact a point. And then position. I talked, this is again, body language and how you move. I like to move around the room when I'm speaking at different speaking engagements and really interact with the audience. Speaking with confidence, 3 C's. Obviously, we talked about content. So you got to keep your content relevant and short and sweet, right? Nobody wants like a long, drawn out thing, right? So content is important. People like visuals, like my little guy here with the glasses, and clarity. Do you guys like the little dog? Let me see, get some feedback here. If you guys are still with me. And the second part is clarity. You have to be clear on your messaging and keep it really concise. Okay, good. I see some hearts. Thank you. And then you have to have charisma. I forgot about the emojis, right? You have to have charisma and energy so people will want to listen to you and listen to your message, right? So that's important. Let me know if you like the 3 C's there. Okay, what else we have? Okay, cute. Okay, they like the dog. Awesome. All right. So, and I truly think the charisma part is really important because people that are charismatic and, energetic, enthusiastic, you want to listen to them, right? And the same goes when you're in an interview or wherever, presentation, right? Okay. And then here we go. Fear is a confidence killer. Back to that fear, right? So try to, just be brave and know that, like, what's the worst that can happen, right? Just go out there and do what it is that you want to do. Okay, good question. So somebody brought up, how can you learn to be a little bit more charismatic, right? So honestly, I think that you don't have to change your personality because some people are a little bit more introverted than others, and some people are more extroverts. But it's honestly just putting a little bit more energy into your, your delivery, right? Smiling more, right? People love people who smile, who are positive, who laugh, right? People are naturally attracted to that, right? So I think that's one way you could be a little bit more charismatic, or even having a little bit of like fun with your wardrobe. So it's funny, before I wasn't a big fan of color for some reason when I was growing up. A lot of my wardrobe were like neutral colors and blacks and whites and things like that. But now I'm a little bit more vibrant and bold in my wardrobe. And I feel like sometimes that can create a conversation with someone. Oh, I love your top, or I love your earrings, or, something like that. Another way, so physical appearance. Another way I think is just practicing on a daily basis. So maybe you want something, but you're too shy to ask. So going up to somebody and asking them something, or complimenting somebody that maybe you don't know, like a stranger, or striking up a conversation with a stranger. These are things that'll build your confidence, right? Just doing small things. So, okay, good. Being authentic and creating connections. Yes, exactly. Wow, I love this group. This is a very interactive group here. So, back to that, right? Ask yourself, what do you fear and why, right? Like, what's the worst case scenario, right? What can happen? All right. And again, just truly believing in yourself. And it sounds kind of cliche or whatever, but really believing in yourself, right? And believing in your mission, your purpose, because sometimes what you're trying to do is bigger than you, right? Think about who you're doing it for. Maybe it's your children or your family, but we all have goals and we all have dreams. And I honestly think believing in yourself will give you that confidence to take action. So this is why I think it's so important, both in your personal and professional life, to develop that confidence. I just wanted to add this because this is something that I usually would share when I used to teach preceptor, because a lot of new nurses struggle with this, or even nurses transitioning to different roles. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with team steps, but this is one thing if you're in the clinical setting and you're not sure how to advocate. And I used to joke around and say, oh, just cuss at people, right? But really, cuss stands for I am concerned, which is C. I am uncomfortable, which is the U. And S is this is a safety concern. So if it's something clinical in a clinical setting and you don't know how to address it, maybe with a physician or something like that, that's what you would use to have that confidence to speak up, right? And a lot of you are probably familiar with this acronym. CUS, again, I am concerned, I am uncomfortable, and this is a safety concern. Which brings me to my other point about setting boundaries, right? It's extremely important to set boundaries. And I think people who are extremely confident have no issue doing that. They have no issue saying no, and they have no issue setting boundaries. And this is difficult for people. It's difficult for me sometimes as well, and it could be uncomfortable, but you have to learn how to set boundaries. And I think this will, once you have that confidence, it'll help on both ends. Okay. Just wanted to see how we're doing for time. I think we're doing well. So never let success get to your head, right? And never let failure get to your heart. I love this quote. All right. Give me some hearts if you love it too. Let me know what you guys think about this quote. Again, never let success get to your head and never let failure get to your heart. So sometimes as nurses, I feel like we're really hard on ourselves. And we just have to take a step back sometimes and say, we're doing amazing things as nurses. And Happy Nurses Month, by the way, and Happy Nurses Week. So we can't be that hard on ourselves, right? And again, back to looking at failure as an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to learn. Because if we keep getting our ego bruised or letting it get to us, we're going to have difficulty with our confidence. Okay. Yes. Someone says they love cuss. Thank you. All right. So, how can you be more confident? Let me know in the chat box. I know you guys are really interactive, and, what do you guys think so far? How can you be more confident? My little cute cat there. Let's put it in the chat there. Yes, we're proud to be nurses. So let me know in the chat box, how you think you can be more confident. Okay, so we have Christopher says, learn your skill set. Absolutely. Keep them coming, and then we can always go back to it. All right. So here we go. Own what you know. Okay, confidence comes with knowing what you know. Okay, read. Okay, awesome, great. So I have a couple here. So bold behavior, right? And again, I talk about being bold, speaking your mind, not being afraid to advocate, right? And taking risks and going after what you want. Okay, and really stepping out of that comfort zone. So back to the example of where I said, maybe if you're like a shy person and you're afraid to interact, or maybe when you go to social gatherings, you kind of keep to yourself, start getting out there and talking to people, right? And I think that will help with your confidence. And the next one is acknowledge, right? Acknowledge how fabulous you are, because you are fabulous, right? And how much you know, because we as nurses, we're highly skilled. We know a lot, and we have so many, a big skill set, and we can really transfer our skills to other areas, right? So just know that nursing, being a nurse is not easy. So just give yourself grace and be proud of yourself, right? And go back to that positivity and self-talk. And one of the things that I forgot to mention about growth mindset is be careful about the conversations that you tell yourself or that you have with yourself in the language that you use, right? So saying things like, well, I don't know how to do that. Take that out, right? You can say, well, I haven't done it yet, but I will learn how to do that, right? So flipping it and making it more positive, okay? Again, be dynamic, right? Adapt. Be enthusiastic, be positive, be flexible, right? Another big one is ask for feedback. And I know as humans, it's tough to get feedback, and I struggle with this a lot as a new nurse because, we all want to hear like fabulous things about ourselves, but it's difficult to take constructive feedback. So I would say go out and ask your colleagues, ask your family, your friends, how do you think I am? How do you think I can improve? Blah, 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 right? Get that constant feedback because you need that for improvement and for that growth, all right? And being assertive, we talked about that, setting those boundaries, right? Set the boundaries, ask for what you want, and know what your non-negotiables are, right? Confident people will negotiate, and they know what they want, all right? So you need that clarity. And that comes, again, with knowing yourself and knowing what your goals are and things of that nature, all right? Someone said speak with confidence and stay relevant. Awesome. All right? And this other one is so important. Be strategic. I can't speak anymore. Be strategic, right? Be strategic in life. Be strategic in your career. Honestly, sometimes you just have to play the game to get to your end game, okay? This is really big with networking, okay? Again, back to building your own brand. You have to see yourself as a brand. Being on LinkedIn, you can't I'm not saying, don't promote your company or whatever, but you have to promote yourself. And a lot of times nurses have difficulty with that. And you have to plan what your end goal is so you know how to get to there. So one quick tip that I give my clients all the time is, like, say you want to be a CNO, right? A chief nursing officer. And that's your goal. And you're a new nurse. What I say is go ahead and look at a job description of what the qualifications are, certifications that you need to be a CNO. And that's your blueprint that you're going to work towards to get there, if that makes sense, right? So I think that's a great tip. It's something that I've used in my career. You know, I'll share this story with you. So when I worked, I'm not going to say where I worked, somewhere in the ER, and I had my master's in education, and I wanted to work my way up to become the director of education, but my manager told me I didn't have the soft skills to be an educator. It wouldn't interview me for the educator role. And at that point, I realized, well, I've tried multiple times to get this opportunity, but it's not happening. So it's time for me to leave. So I had to move to a different organization. I then became a clinical instructor, educator, and then boom, I became the director of education. How did I do that? Because I was very strategic in my moves and I knew what I had to get done. I got, you guys know I got 6 certifications. You work your way up because you know what you want. Okay. And then this is my favorite, my last one. I talk about having that swagger, right? Dripping with swagger and having that ultimate unshakable confidence. But what does swagger really mean, right? It's the way that you conduct yourself, your personal branding, what you wear, what you say, obviously, being professional and things like that, but also like having fun with it, right? And then I'm not going to bore you with this, but obviously you're going to fail. Take the lessons, continue to improve. And this is the one. Not everyone is going to like you, okay? Not everyone is for you, and that's okay. This is so big. Once you learn this, you're going to be all right, okay? Let me know if this resonates with you. Put a heart up there, because we worry so much about what other people think that it stops us from doing what it is that we want to do. So I think once you realize that, like, they're not paying your bills, they're not living your life. So don't worry about them, right? Like, be focused on you and your goals, right? And be a no matter what person. Just like I said, the story about, like, I could have been crushed when that clinical instructor told me I would never be an ER nurse, right? And this is why I want to change the narrative for nurses, especially our new generation of nurses. And some of you may disagree with me, but I tell them, if you want to go into a specialty area and you're getting the support and education that you need, go for it. Go for what you want, right? You have no business in med surg if you want to be a NICU nurse, all right? That's just my opinion, okay? And as long as you have the support and a good organization, you'll be all right, okay? And be your own cheerleader, stay focused, and really believe in what it is that you want to do, okay? And then there's a couple comments. Someone says, others negativity might have nothing to do with you. Yes, it could just be a projection of what's going on. Maybe they're fearful. Exactly. So don't let that get to you. And sometimes just don't take it personal, right? Some people may just be not having a good day or whatever it is, right? Don't magnify things more than what it is, okay? And then I love this quote: peace ends where expectation begins. All right? So don't expect anything from anyone. That's the other thing, right? Just do what you have to do to get where you want to be, meaning, don't think, well, this person didn't do this or that or whatever. Just make it happen. And just be confident in your skills that it's going to happen. And I didn't talk about this, but I really believe in manifestation and writing things down and writing your goals down, because you need clarity on your next steps. And I promise you, if you speak in a positive manner, you'll speak things into existence in your life. And it's happened to me both professionally and personally. All right. So, I'm not going to read all that, but recap, right? Positive self-talk, give yourself compliments, right? And celebrate your wins. Because if you don't celebrate yourself, right, you have to celebrate yourself and promote yourself. And don't think about it like you're bragging. It's fine, okay? I don't know. I'm just going to bring this up, okay? I love music, so I don't know if you saw that. I posted it on my LinkedIn, but I had a Snoop video where he thanks himself, and it's hilarious, but it's so true. He's like, I want to thank myself for, being such a hard worker, not taking days off, and it sounds funny, but we have to be thanking ourselves for all that we do and proud of our accomplishments, right? So I love that video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And then be your own cheerleader, look your best, back to personal branding, and practice your craft, which a lot of you have mentioned. Get good at your skills, things like that. And embrace, I think I spelled embrace wrong, sorry. Embrace your mistakes and failures. And then take action, take risk, invest in yourself. That's a big one. So I recently have invested in myself quite a bit with coaching and business coaching and things like that. And it's so important, whether it's going to a conference, investing in memberships, different groups, masterminds, whatever it is to get better. It's something good to do. Or if it's for self-care, getting monthly massages or whatever the case is, because I feel like once you're happy in your personal life and you're getting enough sleep, all those things, right? And I know it's tough because we're nurses, we're stressed out, there's a lot going on, kids, but once we can learn to cope with stress and we're happy because we know happiness comes from within, then it'll permeate like in other areas of your life, also professionally. So that's important to do, is to invest in yourself and in your self-care. All right. And then obviously knowing yourself. All right. So the last one, we're almost coming to an end, is the swag part. We talked about this, that swagger, how to act, right? So again, I used to live in Brooklyn. I worked in New York for quite a bit, but again, back to that song, right? I'm out that Brooklyn. You could tell by my attitude, I'm most definitely from New York. So, right, New Yorkers have this stereotype that they're very bold, they're confident. And I think it's true because, they really go after what they want and say what they mean and all that stuff. So and that's another favorite picture of mine is the Brooklyn Bridge. All right. So we got some Brooklynites here. Awesome. And then the way to get started is to quit talking and to begin doing, right? So same goes for confidence, right? Just start, taking action, doing things that make you uncomfortable so you could just get out of there. Maybe you want to, speak or present at a conference. Go for it. Just do it, right? Okay, what is this? Oh, someone's from Williamsburg. Okay, awesome. All right, so, I have this nice picture of this tree. Again, confidence, right, comes with staying grounded, having that mission, vision, values, and really knowing yourself, okay? And I always tell people this, if you have purpose in your life, you're always going to have direction. A lot of people are not sure what next steps to take, and I help them with this, with my career coaching. And I'll share a quick story. I actually got laid off in the summer of 22 as the director of education. I was literally in the middle of an education meeting. I got a call from the COO. Oh, come to my office. I said, well, I'm in the middle of a meeting. How can I just leave, right? So, oh, no, it's just going to take 5 minutes. They literally let me go in a matter of like a minute. And they're like, oh, well, the company is restructuring. position has been affected. And I was like, what? And that was it. That was it. They're like, yeah, you could just, clean out your office or we could do it for you. And I'm like, when is this effective? They're like, today. I'm like, okay. So this is just to tell you why it's so important to invest in yourself, to have personal branding. And if you're thinking about starting your own business or even having a second job or side hustle or whatever it is, do what it is that brings you purpose and fulfillment. And the reason I tell you this story is because when it happened, I had a sense of comfort and freedom. And I was like, I'm going to be okay. And I'm very spiritual and I believe in God. I'm like, it's okay. Everything happens for a reason. And maybe this is just my time to go. But it's just to show you, if you have purpose, you will always have direction in your life. And we're nurses. I'm like, I'll find a job, whatever. And I got an education position after in academia. But it's just to tell you that you always have to have purpose so you can have that direction, right? And I thought this was just a great picture of grit, right? Like whatever you want, you can get it done. Okay? Let me know if this is resonating. If if you're still there, if you're with me, throw up some emojis and hearts. Thank you. So I love this, empower like Michelle, right? So we know Michelle Obama is all about empowerment. And I love this quote here. Oops, sorry guys. How do I go back? Okay. Your success will be determined by your own confidence and fortitude, right? So I'm telling you guys, I truly believe the more confident you are, the more successful that you will be. Okay. And then lastly, you got this. You guys got this. Confidence is a mindset. And dream big. That's it. That's my message. Dream big and do not let other people talk you out of your dreams. And again, just be confident in all it is that you do. Okay? All right. Thank you. So we're going to take questions now. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. And please feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A chat or in the comment box below. But I think you answered a lot of the questions along the way. This is great, Farron. But if you have any additional questions, let us know.
Yeah, put your comments, questions in there. And I don't know if I missed anything. Someone said be an expert in your field. Okay. Yeah, I think I read most of these. But keep your questions coming. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you happen to think about your question later, you can email me or send me a message on LinkedIn. Okay, what else? Okay, someone says, love your presentation. Thank you. Great information. Thank you so much. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. And what did you learn? Put in the comments. What did you learn today? What stood out to you? What resonated with you in terms of the content that we covered? Or, any specific question about confidence? Let me know. So Christopher says, going back to your story about the advisor that told you that you would never be an ER nurse because you were too disorganized. I imagine you had to get more organized becoming an ER nurse. So there is value even in that negativity. Well, yeah, and that goes back to that feedback, right? Like I said, I always ask for feedback, and I think that's important for students to get feedback. But I don't think that as an educator, right, you should crush people's dreams. But definitely, yes, I took that and worked on it and became more organized. Obviously, we have to be organized in nursing and be able to prioritize. But I felt like she was a great motivator for me, but it could have went differently for someone else, right? It could have crushed someone's confidence to the point where they wouldn't have pursued that, right? But I thank you for that, and you're right. Cynthia, you're welcome. She says, thank you. Your confidence is still when you got let go from your job. Yes. that sometimes happens. I've spoken to other nurses that were laid off, and I feel like it bruises their ego and they have difficulty transitioning or getting another job. But just know that it doesn't make you less of a nurse. And maybe if you're in a particular area that you don't like, it's okay, right? A lot of times people will drive hospital, but some nurses just don't like the hospital and they go into outpatient or different areas. And sometimes they're made to feel like, oh, they're not a good nurse, or, and I don't want people to think that. Okay, trying to get your swagger back, but it's difficult. Well, like I said, definitely, you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would say to work on your resume, to share your story, and to really stay relevant in your skills and to really find the areas that you really want to go into. Okay. Take the fruit and throw away the peel. All right. Well, awesome. I don't know if you guys have any other questions, but it sounds like the questions are dying down a little bit. And I want to thank you all for, being so interactive and amazing during this presentation and being present, to join this.
And thank you again so much. And thank you all for joining today. We're going to have a survey directly after this, so feel free to ask questions there and we can send them to Farah afterwards. And we'll continue our recruitment series moving forward throughout the year. So definitely check your emails for upcoming webinars for nursing careers, conference, and other topics throughout the year.
This was so fun. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and a great rest of your week. And connect with me on LinkedIn and other platforms. And you could check out my website as well. It's, let me share it with you. I forgot to put the last slide. It's nursefarah.com is my website, and you can email me directly if you have any questions. Awesome. All right. Thank you.